everybody, what's going on? Trey Griggs here with Beta Consulting Group. Oh my, this is the beauty of going live. We're about 10 minutes late, as you might notice. That's because we had internet issues. Things happen when you go live, and so we're trying to work through all of that, but appreciate your patience and hope you're able to jump on and hear some great content today. I'm very excited about our guest today. This is a guy that I've known for a long time and had the opportunity to work with closely and got to watch him work. And I got to tell you, like when you think about high performance sales and consistency, this guy is it. So I'm excited for you guys to hear from him today. Please welcome my good friend, Nick Strober. Nick, what's up, brother? Good to have you on, man.
What's going on, man? Glad we were able to fix these little technical difficulties there.
I know.
Struggle,
finally
but
worked it out.
I swear, it's this morning. I've been having Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Hangouts. It's just, there's always something going on. So I'm glad we got this working, man.
It happens, but the show must go on, as they say. And so I'm glad that we're able to do that. And I was thinking about this show all week. I'm very excited about this show because, man, I want to just unpack some of the things that you do that are so effective that we're going to help a lot of salespeople. So today's show is all about the sales performer, the sales rep who's really wanting to get ahead and want to move forward. And you do some things that, like I'm just going to brag on you if it's okay for a while. Like, we had a chance to work together these past 2 years. And the thing about you that was so impressive is that consistently you're the top performer. In some organizations, you'll have different top performers throughout, like maybe one guy will win this month, but you don't let anybody else win. Like you're that guy that you're the top performer and you're just consistent. And I say this to people all the time. You truly are like the Michael Jordan of the lean sales team, because when you think about like somebody like Michael Jordan, he was the most talented guy, but he also was the hardest worker. And as Tim Tebow says, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Like even if you have talent, you still got to put in the work. And you're the kind of guy that you put in the work and you show that. And so I love that about you. And I'm just going to keep bragging on you. But we're going to dig in a little bit about that. So before we go any further, though, tell everybody a little bit about yourself as opposed to what I've just shared. You go and tell everybody your intro.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the intro, and that was quite the intro to say the least. But I mean, it really comes down. I mean, I've had such a strong team behind me and everyone that's part of Lean to really make sure that those sales come to fruition. But no, at the end of the day, my name is Nick Strober. I'm a senior account executive team leader here at Lean Solutions. I was actually one of the first employees here in the States to get our name out there, where I was pounding the phones, going to trade shows, doing whatever we really could to explain what it is that we do to the transportation and logistics sector. So originally from California, Santa Barbara, spent some time up in Minnesota, don't you know? And now I'm down in South Florida. So I live here in South Florida, where our main headquarters is in Parkland, Florida, and a quick little short flight to Columbia, where all of our main operations are. So no, it's been quite the ride. And like I said, we've built out quite a strong team now, to where it helps support the growth that we've been having. But excited to chat with you about sales, and any insight that I can provide is I'm happy to do so.
Yeah, you're a coastal boy. You tried that Midwest living for just a little bit, and then you had to get back to the sunshine.
It's too cold, man. Those 40-degree winters. I stayed there for around 7 or 8 years, and by the 7th year, I was like, all right, I need to get out.
Yeah, I'm working on this. I'm almost 44. This is my 39th winter in the Midwest, and it's getting pretty brutal. So I don't blame you for making the jump. Well, let's talk a little bit about the team at Lean, because as you referenced, you do have a strong team at Lean. It's phenomenal, and not to take anything away from the other guys. I mean, Hunter, I know I'm speaking a little hyperbole with you. I know Hunter, Bell, he's won a couple of months, or I think in there as well. And there's a lot of really good talent on the team, and so the team overall is really strong. And I think a lot of it starts with the top performer who's showing what to do and what not to do, which is great. Yeah. Before we do that, let's go back. When did we meet? Gosh, I'm trying to think back to how long ago it was. I think you were a new rep at Lean. It was probably at a trade show back in the day.
Yeah, it had to have been either TIA or Freightways. I don't know, man. There's been so many conferences, but I'm sure our paths crossed at one conference or another. But probably it's probably 3 years ago, I'd say. I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably. I almost want to think. In my mind, I'm thinking Freightways Chicago. That's kind of what I'm thinking, because I remember being kind of in the same proximity with the booths at that time and talking to you guys, talking to Ryan and Hunter, all those guys. So that might have been the time, but no, it's been great just these last 3 years watching you grow and just seeing you achieve levels of success that are just absolutely crazy. But let's go back to kind of the team game for just a minute. So when you think about sales, it's obviously an individual sport, but there's also a team component too. I mean, it's not just that you're hitting high marks, you're being pushed by some guys who are also hitting high marks as well. What does it mean to be a part of a team where everybody is really, performing well or have these massive goals and they're working hard? What's that culture like?
Yeah. And I think there's a couple of different parts to that. I think part of it is like having a team, there is that competitive nature where, the year before last, Hunter beat me out. And that just drove this something clicked in my head where I was like, I can't have that happen again. And so having that team competitiveness drove me to the next level. And, to my point is that I'd been pounding hard for years. And so a lot of things last year kind of just fell into my plate because of the time that I put and all the seeds that I planted years previous. And we're just in such, in high demand where everything kind of just fell into place. But now that I'm an actual team leader where I have a group of 5 people under me, Hunter has a group of 5 people under him, it's starting to kind of teach us a lot more that we didn't really think about as a leader and driving sales performance and making sure that the team under you is going to be set up for success and what that looks like. I mean, there's just so many different components that you start realizing as you become that leader where you didn't really think of it as much before. When I was last year and the years previous at Lean, it was just me and I was hungry and I'm grinding and I want everything to be me and close as many deals as possible, trying to forget about leave the team or leave the other colleagues in the dust. But now it's like, okay, how do we build this team together and set you guys up, the younger sales guys, to succeed what I've succeeded in my past, and how can I replicate what I've done with other individuals that are kind of trying to get to where I'm at now. So it's pretty interesting. It's a cool new dynamic that I'm experiencing. I hadn't been in kind of that sales leadership role yet. And so to be a part of it is a blessing. And I'm grateful for this opportunity. I love Lean Solutions. I love what we do and how we've helped so many other companies. And obviously everyone that I work with and work for, it's just a great part or a good place to be a part of. So I think there's a lot of different things that drive kind of, that hunger that I have, and I know that a lot of the other guys have as well.
Yeah, no, it's really great. And if we have time at the end, I definitely want to talk about that transition from being a producer to being a leader, because that's a tough transition that, sometimes people struggle with, but you're doing a great job with that. But I want to go back and unpack a couple of things that you said real quickly. So first of all, you said a lot of things fell into my lap last year from what you had done previously. And I think that's an avenue of sales that a lot of people don't understand is really playing the long game and understanding that, you 100%. Might not get that sale today, but you want to leave that prospect knowing what you do and liking who you are, because then when they 100%. Do need your service, they're going to call you, right? So talk a little bit about, the long game, thinking from a long perspective. And I also want you to talk on, when you have a good month, it's easy to kind of take your foot off the gas, but you don't do that. You keep your foot on the gas. I want you to talk about your mentality of how do you keep having good month after good month? So talk a little bit about the work you did and then being consistent.
Yeah, I mean, it really drives back to when I first started here at Lean. I was one of the first employees, along with Ryan Bell, David Bell is the co-founder of Lean Solutions. And we had a very, very small office, and really we were just coming in every day. I remember
that office.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. Well, I think it was even before the one that you saw. I think you saw the one that we were first at. It was literally just like 3 cubicles, and I just remember like just pounding the phones and David would come in and say, hey, just keep doing what you're doing. Things are going to pan out, plant those seeds. And that really stuck with me because it's so easy to just be like, oh, like I just kind of give up. Like it's so easy to just kind of say, okay, I'm just not going to call today. But him telling me every day, like, keep doing what you're doing. It's going to pan out. Things are going to work out in your favor if you put in that work. I think that's really what drove me and continued to drive just the amount of time and effort and energy I put into these cold calls. It finally started to pan out. And so that's why, I always tell the young sales guys, like, plant those seeds. Like, you never know when they might need us. So when you give them a call, leave a message and follow up and be friendly on the phone, because like you said, it's all about planting those seeds and making sure that they like you and that you're the go-to person when that happens. And so a lot of it kind of originated from the first couple of months that I was here at Lean. I didn't close a deal for 6 months when I first started, and I was pounding, and it was
think
brutal.
about that. Just pause for a second. Think about that. For 6 months, and yet you kept going. And credit to David Bell for giving you that advice. I mean, that's such good advice from a leader who sees the long game as well.
Yeah,
because
100%.
how many people would give up not having a deal after 6 months? I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah. Now, I remember I'd call my mom after work because I moved from Minnesota. I'm like, look, like I don't know if this Lean Solutions is gonna work out in my favor. I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on. And and if it wasn't for DB just being in my ear and several others, Robert Cadena, Jeff Mazer, I mean they were always there kind of pushing me, and I remember listening to some of my old phone calls with David being like, oh my God, he's just shaking my head like, this is your cold call. I'm like, dude, I don't know what to say. And then finally, like what's crazy is that sometimes things just like will click. So like you start pounding the phone and you put your head down and you start focusing on what's in front of you and not what other people are doing and what could be out there, and you just focus on today and getting through the day. There's things that just start falling onto your lap after you do that. And I tell the new guys this all the time. It's like, focus on what you have today and do the things that you want to do today so you can get what it is that you want tomorrow. Because at the end of the day, that's exactly what will happen is you focus on the things in front of you. And next thing you know, a lead that you called or a prospect that you called 6 months ago happens to email you, say, hey, we're ready. And so that I saw that myself multiple times, and it's crazy how it works, but it's the most true thing that I've seen being in sales.
Yeah, and as Coleman said, and Coleman, thanks for watching the show, buddy. Always glad to have you jump on. Sales is a long-term game. You don't build a long-lasting relationship with someone after the first meeting. It happens over time. Nick, I got to say, you're like the epitome of that, bro. Like, I mean, you've probably had more people reach out to you and say, hey, we're ready, and it makes an impact on that. So talk a little bit about the consistency factor, because again, like, one thing that impressed me about you is that you just never seem to let up. You never seem to have a good month and then followed by a bad month. What happens a lot. A lot of sales reps and teams, we see that happen where somebody just kills it. All their stuff kind of comes in 1 month, and then a really big month, and then they taper off for a couple months. Talk about your mindset when it's the first of the month. What are you thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, a big part of it is being organized. And I think that's one of my pitfalls is that I'm not the most organized salesperson. Like when you look at my HubSpot CRM compared to
let's not even talk about it.
Yeah, we don't even need to go there. But I think one of the things that I did well was just be persistent, be consistent, like finding that fine line between annoying and just that persistent salesperson. And so like what happened this last year where I was consistently the top performer is that I had so many things that I had planted from way back in the day that finally started coming to fruition after all this time. And it was the perfect storm because COVID was happening. We were taking off and we had so many different, customers, and we had different people that we placed on our advisory board that started, putting out some feelers and some introductions. So like a lot of things just started kind of coming together, and I was there being able to make sure that things got handled. And so I think it was just that perfect storm where we were in the right place at the right time. And I think that goes for some of the growth that we've seen. It's crazy. We have 7,000 employees now and working with 450 customers in this space. It's wild, but it all comes back to, being in the right place at the right time and, staying competitive, staying persistent, staying on top of the people that you've hit up, from years back, making sure you do those monthly follow-ins or follow-ups, and doing those types of things is really what makes or breaks you.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you said the fine line between being annoying and just being persistent, like following up. And I think the key is, and something you do really well, and all the guys at Lean, this is one of the things that everybody at Lean does really well, the whole culture does this well, is you guys truly build relationships with people where they want to hang out with you. And I think that's critical because, again, when you're calling to check in, it's more than just hey, are you ready to buy? It's, hey, how are you doing? Hey, how are things going? What's going on in your business? How's everything going? Or are you talking about something that you talked about on a previous call that you have a connection with? I think that's really critical, that when you think about persistence and consistency in sales, that the relationship piece is there, because otherwise it does get pretty annoying pretty quick when somebody's just calling, asking for business, but not actually caring about who you are, right? I mean, talk a little bit about the mindset of the team in terms of relationships.
Yeah, no, it's important. And I said that I was just on a call with a customer, and I was like, look, like this is all about becoming a partner, but really at the end of the day, we become your friend, and we want to be with you when you come down to Columbia and be a part of something great that we're building together. And I think that's what kind of drives a lot of the relationships that we built today. I mean, I get so many different, different introductions to different companies just through my relationships that I've built with my current customers. And so that's one of the biggest things in sales, is just being likable. That was the other thing that David Bell taught me from the get-go. He's like, if you're likable, you're going to do well in sales. And if people like you, they're going to want to buy from you. And so that's the big thing, is like not being that super salesy. And that's actually something that I try to coach my team now, is like, you don't want to be that super salesy, salesman. Like, just be real with those people and just communicate with them. Tell them what you're doing. Tell them what how you're helping other companies in the industry, and just have that just a normal conversation, like they're a normal person. Because at the end of the day, like that's what it is. It's just building that relationship with people. And I think that like you said, I think I've done a good job at doing that, which is why I'm in the spot that I'm at today. But it really wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the team that we have, and the operations team in Columbia that's making it happen, and the mentors that I've had in my life, and the management that we have at Lean. That's really why we're at the spot where we're at. I mean, I was here and was one of the first ones, but it really comes down to the team that our management really built out.
Yeah, and something cool with video calls now, because when you were making cold calls, it's a little harder, but with video calls, you can see maybe what's in somebody's background. I have some strategic things typically placed in my background at home. I've got my guitar, I've got my golf clubs, and it creates these conversations and connections, because at the end of the day, people buy from people. And like you said, they want to buy from people they like, because, customer vendor relationship is kind of like a marriage. It's kind of like a dating relationship. I mean, if they buy from you, you're kind of tied together for a while. So it's good to be with people that you want to hang out with and that you want to spend time with. So you've done a phenomenal job with that. Talk for a minute, because you also do a great job with social media. Talk a minute about social media and LinkedIn, how that's impacted your ability to sell.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was my really the only tool that I used when I first started at Lean. And I keep going back to David Bell, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be in the spot where I'm at, because he literally told me, he's like, and I had LinkedIn already created just through one of my college courses. And I was like, this tool is stupid. I'm never going to go on this. And then once I started utilizing it for Lean, I was like, this is crazy. Like, you can connect with every person within any organization, filter out exactly who you want to contact. And half the time, their phone number, cell phone number is right on their LinkedIn page. So it's crazy. Like, what I did was I just connected when I first started at Lean. Ryan Bell and I would literally just connect with as many people as we could in the transportation and logistics space. And then what we do is just reach out to those individuals. And then when I saw their phone number right there on LinkedIn, I'd say, I just cold called them and said, hey, I just came across your profile on LinkedIn. I thought you would be, it's great to connect. I thought you might have some interest in what it is that we're doing here at Lean Solutions. Have you heard of us before? We're pretty unique to the industry. Majority of the time, they definitely haven't heard of us, because we had 3 clients and 50 people in Columbia, but you kind of got to fake it till you make it. And and so I closed a ton of my business from LinkedIn, and what I was able to, the people that I was able to connect with and the phone numbers that I found. And now it's like everyone's on LinkedIn, everyone's posting, oh, we're hiring for these positions. And so it's so easy to just cold call them and have that warm introduction. Hey, we just connected on LinkedIn. Figured I'd just give you a call. How are you doing today? Like, something just so basic and just very straightforward. It's just a simple conversation.
And
pick up.
And that was 4 years ago. Think about that. There are sales leaders today that still don't want their sales team on LinkedIn or on social media. They feel like they're wasting time. And I'm a big proponent that if you're not on LinkedIn as a salesperson, then you're missing out. Clearly missing out.
100%. Yeah, that's one thing I want to implement with my team, and that's something I want to create, is like making sure that they're constantly posting on LinkedIn. Like, when I first started, I was like posting stupid pictures of me that like I had one of our photographers in Columbia take, where I was just like on a fake phone call. But I think by doing that, I was doing all these things where I started becoming not super well known, but people would just see my post constantly. And so they were like I had multiple people just reach out to me, said, hey, I'm interested in your services.
Exactly. Corey agrees with that, extremely useful. I mean, obviously being able to have a tool where you can connect with anybody. And like, I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, not that you've become, a celebrity, but you almost kind of gain that status because people see you. And it's like, think about like Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan or Gary Vaynerchuk or anybody. We're never going to meet those people. We're never going to meet Gary Vaynerchuk, right? But you feel like you know him because he posts and you see him on a regular basis. And anybody can do this for free on LinkedIn. Like, you don't have to have a big marketing engine to be able to do some of these kind of things. You just have to be consistent and post. And I remember, there are times where you would post things from Lean that I didn't even know existed. I'm like, where'd you get that post? And you're like, oh, it's right here. Like, you just have, that was just a skill that you have that you do a really great job with. So it's awesome. Yeah. Love seeing that, man. And Corey, thanks for watching the show. Shout out to Corey. All right. So I want to transition to something else real quick. So something else that you are also known for, my friend, is whale hunting. So for those of you who are watching the show that don't know what this is, maybe you're not into sales, think about fishing and think about whales. Like, it's easy to go to a pond and throw out some bait, catch a few fish. You can catch a bunch of fish. You might catch 10 fish in one day. But if you go whale hunting, you might have to go out for a week or 2 weeks or a month and try to figure out where they are and find them. But that's what when you came to Lean, talk about your mindset about going after larger clients versus maybe going after smaller clients and kind of the strategy there. Talk a little bit about that, because that's something I know is forefront on your mind, or at least it was when you came to Lean.
Yeah, no, and I'll bring up David Bell's name once again. I mean, he came into our office one day and was like, "Hey, look up the top 100 transportation logistics companies, pound that list, and just reach out to everybody that you possibly can." And so at the time, it was just Ryan and I was like, okay, done. Like, top 10. I'm like, okay, who can I target? And so it was like the CH, the TQLs, the Coyotes, the Worldwide Expresses,
the Echoes, Worldwide,
UPS.
Exactly.
And I just started pounding it, and I really just wanted to do whatever I could to get into contact with these people. And so going back to the LinkedIn, I was reaching out I'd filter in on LinkedIn, senior vice president of operations, COO, VP of ops, and I start connecting with all these people, start cold calling them. It's so funny because now we have Zoom info and seamless AI, where like everyone's contact information and email address is right there. And 5 years ago, we weren't even doing that, which is so crazy to me. So I was literally like, that's how I was starting to get in touch with some of these individuals. And I mean, it doesn't take, like, it's not an overnight thing. It's the long play where it takes a lot of time to really get engaged with these individuals. And so as I was whale hunting for some of these monsters, you also have to keep your pipeline filled with just little minnows or smaller companies, little fish that is just going to, generate some business for you. So you feel like you're going towards the overall goal, and you don't feel like you're just spinning your tires with these massive companies. But there's still companies that I'm working on today that I've been working on 5 years ago, and I still am like, not closing them. And so it's just that long process of sales that you have to endure. And it's a grind. It's an absolute grind, and it's not for everybody. It's easy to be told no and just say, okay, I'm over it, and hang up and I'll make another phone call. But if you treat it like you're there to help other people, it's a different. It's just kind of all perspective and how you look at things overall.
No, I love that. I love the fact that you talked about the balance between having a healthy pipeline, which is going after anybody who is a sales qualified lead, and whether they're small or large, whoever, they can benefit from your service and your product. But having that ability to be persistent and continue to go after some of the larger ones. And then here's something else I think is key is when you do get that meeting with the whale, with the larger companies, just understanding that it's another person on the other end, right? People buy from people. Like, they're just another person. They just happen to be in a large organization that might have a few more hoops to jump through, a little more red tape that you got to deal with, longer timeline, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's still a person that you're talking to let them know what you're doing. So I think it's cool.
That's the one thing about like being face to face with some of these people. Like Tyler Crow, one of my colleagues, and I went to Atlanta just the other week and had an in-person meeting, and sitting down with the CEO and just talking face to face like we're just normal people. I mean, that's the one thing that kind of sucks with COVID. What had happened was you were just strictly Zoom calls and phone calls where being face to face with these people and going to their cities and hosting events. Like that's something that we did to lock in some large customers. We hosted an event in Chicago and we got some of the main leaders from different companies out there, and our clients spoke with these other companies. And so these are all part of the things that, you know, from senior level management, they came up with this strategy, and fortunately we had some good opportunities and we closed some big deals from it. But I think being face to face is a huge thing as well. And you know, reaching out to these CEOs or VPs and saying, hey, I'm going to be in your city, would love to grab coffee. You know, doing little things like that, or hey, we're hosting this event, would love for you to come through and you know, enjoy some time. I think that's how you do it.
Yeah, it's nice to have trade shows back, at least where you can meet with some people. And you know, I have to say the Mastermind highlight video just dropped. And so I have to say that event was just sick as well, being out in Vegas, having a good time with that. That was awesome. There's something to be said about spending time with clients and not talking business necessarily, but just having fun. And for those of you that didn't get a chance to make the Mastermind event last year, the next one's coming. It's Super Bowl 2023.
Do not want to miss that.
That's right. You don't want to miss that one. You can get back to it. But that's also part of the strategy as well. So if you think about, like, just to break down Mastermind weekend, we're there for like 60 hours, right, with clients. And only 3 of it is dedicated to really kind of education and business, but the rest of it is really dedicated to fun. But there's so much value in having those shared experiences with your clients, your customers who appreciate that. So, you know, being in person, you just can't beat it. I mean, there's just no other way around it.
It changes the entire atmosphere for sure.
Without a doubt. Okay. All right. Last thing, and we got a little bit of time, so I'm excited about this. So I want to talk a little bit about that transition from being a sales producer, like you talked about earlier, really just thinking about your own pipeline, your own thing, to now, you know, leading. I know you guys are hiring. You're looking for more people to bring onto your team, and now leading a team. Talk about that transition and what that's been like as somebody who's kind of right in the thick of it. Because I think that, you know, there's so much that can be learned in that process of transitioning your priorities from taking care of yourself to now taking care of people. Talk a little bit about that.
No, and it's something that every day you're learning something new, and you're trying to come up with different ideas to get the team engaged and motivated and excited. And it's something that I'm new to, and so it's something that I'm still learning. And I haven't been in a sales management level role before, so this is kind of like that first opportunity to really kind of take it full speed and build out a strong team that's got the same values and goals and ideas that you have. And so it's something that you do have to really take a step back before you take a couple of steps forward and say, okay, how do I, like, going from literally just trying to be, you know, me, like I was saying before, trying to close as many deals as possible, and saying, how can I help the team close the goals that they're going after, the deals that they're going after, and what strategies that I have can I implement with the sales team, and how can I assist in any possible way that I can, and having, you know, very, you know, productive meetings rather than just, you know, BS that's just throwing things at a wall and seeing what sticks. It's really kind of just making sure that you build a strong foundation with the team that you have, and make sure that the team understands what the overall goals are, but then also understanding, hey, what are your individual goals, and how can we achieve those? Like, what do you want out of this opportunity here, and how can I help achieve those goals for you or with you? That's something that I'm constantly learning, and I'm doing my homework and reading things online, reading different books, listening to podcasts, talking to different mentors of mine. It's just I feel like you're always going to be kind of learning, but at the end of the day, it's an amazing experience, and I'm happy to be able to shine or shed light on kind of what I've done in my career here so far, and try to help the newer guys and get them to the level that I'm at. It's just you're always going to be doing something, but trying to go in the right direction and make sure that they all get excited and want the same things that I wanted. And I think that's something that I've I got to keep on pushing and making sure that they're all on the same page.
Yeah, I love hearing about that. I can just hear in your voice the care and concern that you have for the people on your team. And that's what it's all about. I think one of the misconceptions of leadership is that people now are going to work for you. But the truth is, as a leader, you're now working for everybody that is reporting to you. You're responsible for all of them and their success in many ways of helping them be successful. And it's a transition that a lot of people, you know, high performers. I mean, think about like sports, right? How many of the great basketball players ever became good NBA coaches? Like, not many, because it's hard. That's a hard transition to go from like just taking care of myself to now take care of everybody else. But you're doing a great job, man. I love it. I mean, love seeing the growth, love seeing you, thrive and continue to grow. And it's just been such a privilege to be your friend, man, for sure. So I appreciate you coming on and talking about that. Okay,
course,
so we got to end up with Greg Roberts. Thanks for watching, buddy. Good to see you again. I love that. Me becomes we. Yeah, I mean, that's you got to change it. So Greg always has a bunch of little good sayings like that. He's pretty good for stuff like that for sure. All right, so got to transition to one thing real quick. So Nick, I don't know if you've heard about this or not, but I'm doing a charity event called the Word on the Street Tough Mudder Charity Challenge. We're actually working to raise money for wounded veterans. It's going to be April 30th in St. Louis. I'm so excited about it. You should consider signing up. Get some boys from Lane to come up and participate in this bad boy. It's 9 miles, 30 obstacles, and we're raising money for wounded veterans. I've got a good friend who he runs an organization called Battle Buddy 3 Gun. He's a former Marine who is paralyzed from the waist down now. He's a wounded veteran himself.
Wow.
He came out of that and said, I want to help other wounded veterans. And so they put on these 3-gun shooting experiences for wounded veterans, especially ones who are in wheelchairs who typically can't do stuff. But each event costs $4,000. So we're trying to raise $100,000 so we can sponsor 25 of these events. It's a lot of money. We're super excited to do that. So if you haven't been able to check that out, go to my website, betaconsultinggroup.com/events. Sign up for that, donate, have a good time. I just wanted to throw that out there so everybody can see that. And Nick, man, thanks so much for coming on, bro. It was so good to get. I'm glad this worked out, man. I was nervous that we weren't going to get.
I was like, dude, you need to reschedule. Should I just throw my computer out and get a new one? What do we do here? I'm glad we made it happen, man. It's nice to see you and chat with you. It's actually my first little podcast I've ever done here, so I hope I didn't butcher anything. And it was awesome. No, man. Happy to shed any light that I did.
And we're going to see a TIA coming up here in just a little bit. April 6th.
We're going to do the TIA, the Freight Waves. We're going to start hosting different events in each city. That
regional stuff.
There's a conference. Yeah. So like whether it's doing Top Golf with some PGA players or, whatever it may be, we'll have some fun in the cities that we're at. So stay tuned there for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate you being on. And for everybody who's watching, make sure you come back tomorrow for Michael Nemi, one of my good friends who is like a cold calling genius. If you don't follow him on LinkedIn, you should follow him. Come back tomorrow for some awesome tips about that right here at 10:30 a.m. Central on Standing Out, a daily podcast about sales and marketing and leadership brought to you by Beta Consulting Group. That's all for now. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Nick, thanks again, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. See ya.